Tiger style. Tiger style.
Attention, everyone.
Tiger
This is
style.
an emergency broadcast. The unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake. Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go, so that you can make the sound we broadcast as loud as possible.
Tiger style. Tiger style. Tiger
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for spending your time in the Tiger's Den. We will try not to waste it. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024 AD. I am Franco Mattei, otherwise known as Angry Tiger. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the state creating a narrative through the media has been going on since the dawn of news reports. In the past, we used to count on the so-called press to help the American public hold politicians accountable and get close to the truth of matters. Report the facts in an unbiased way. This is no longer the case. The very little bit of honest reporting that we received in the past has been blown out the barn door. In 2013, under the Obama administration, the renewal of the NDAA included the use of propaganda on American citizens. This has changed the landscape of the press. Official talking points provided by the State Department, media bias. They're all around washing of the brain in a gigantic bucket full of horse smoke and cow manure. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest walked away from his very lucrative journalism career with the mainstream media in order to start his own news show. He likes to keep it real, no malarkey from our guest. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, we have the truth here tonight. And it's dug in deeper than a tick on an Alabama coonhound. So hold on tight, because you have the tiger by the tail. With us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest and childhood friend of Angry Tiger. When it comes to facts, his hit harder than Babe Ruth's bat when he's pitched a softball. When he sees the lies of the mainstream news, he hits them so hard with facts that he knocks them out of the park for a grand slam. Champion of liberty and freedom, blazing through the alternative media like a juggernaut. Disseminating the truth. No curveballs from our good friend, ladies and gentlemen, journalist and host of Keeping It Real with David Bondy. David Bondy. Hey, what's going on, brother? And we're going to give you a roar for liberty because that's what you are doing. How you doing, brother? Welcome to the show.
I love the roar, and no one calls me, and it's fine that you do, David, ever since I was a younger guy, my mom and my wife. But when I knew you way back in the day, it was David. So we can stick with that. It's fine.
No. I'll stick to Dave. I'm sorry about that. I apologize, Dave.
No, but I love the roar. That is awesome.
Yeah. It's a little bit of accentuating of liberty here in the Tigers Den. We get a little carried away sometimes. So,
I like it.
First of all, I would like to welcome you to the show on behalf of our viewers. And second of all, tell us a little bit about your journalism career. Well, wait a minute. Let me explain something to everybody first of all. So Dave and I, we met in kindergarten, and we were in school. We were best friends basically up until about fourth grade, and we had a lot. We had a lot of adventures. We went to St. Mary's Catholic School, and I remember that, and I remember all the nuns and all the fun that was.
Oh yeah,
and we got along fairly well. And then I hadn't heard from him. I think the last time we talked, man, we might have been 13 or 14.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't even remember what I did yesterday. I'm 49 years old now, and I'm just getting old. We're getting old.
We are. Yeah. I don't like it at all. It's a bad thing. Anyway. And then my brother said, "Hey, have you seen this?" And he sent me a link to David's show on Facebook. And I'm like,
really?
Oh, wow. I gotta get a hold of this guy. This is pretty cool. he's been a journalist all this time while Angry Tiger's been doing stupid things. Dave became a journalist. So Dave, tell us about that. Tell us why you got into journalism and a little bit of short synopsis of your career.
Yeah. By the way, I just shared your broadcast out on my social channels as well. So, yeah. No, after college, I went to Eastern Michigan University, and I'll admit I don't want to say it was a waste of time, but I learned more on the job than I did in college. Part of it maybe I could have probably done without it, but anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, I always wanted to be a news reporter ever since I was a little kid. I think maybe you knew that, or some sort of like a news anchor or something.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we used to play news anchor. and your favorite guy, what was his name? Oh, come on.
Well, there was Bill Bonds. He was an anchor.
Bill Bonds. Yep. That was one of your favorite guys.
He kept it real. He would call out people on the air, and you don't see that much more in local news now. But I became what I wanted to, and my first job was in Evansville, Indiana, making $19,000 a year, and my dad thought I was nuts, and my mom thought I was nuts, because you go to college, you spend money, and you get a job making $19,000. But I loved what I did, and back then, journalism was actually like when I did it. I'm 49 years old. How was I? 22 years old, 1998. You actually, at least I did, tried to hold officials accountable and go after everyone. And I worked, let me think, different. It was like kind of like the military. Worked in Evansville, Indiana, Wilmington, North Carolina, Saginaw, Michigan, Birmingham, Alabama, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then I came back to anchor the news in Flint, Michigan for 8 years. And I walked away last year. I quit because I was just over it. It was not the same industry that I entered 25 years ago. Nowhere near what it was like.
What made you come to that conclusion, Dave? I mean, was it that, what was it? Well, I'm not even going to lead you.
Yeah, it was, first thing, it was my family, because I work night side, and you kind of have to be married to your job if you're doing that. And I have two young children and a wife, and I was sick of working 3 to midnight and being called out every time there was a mass shooting or any stupid idiot did something, and I had to cover it on the news. But also, I think everyone's eyes opened up during COVID. And when it came to certain narratives or certain things you could not report or you could report, and over the last 6-7 years, it became where you really, I admit, I had some bosses that were really cool, but overall, the industry, they didn't want you to challenge officials. They didn't want you to go after, for example, in Michigan, they didn't want you to go after the governor, because if you went after the powerful officials, they would hold back interviews from your TV station. And it was really sad, because back in the day, my bosses encouraged me, go chase the mayor down the street and find out why he's wasting this money. Go after the congressman. And I remember when I was working in Flint as a reporter, I went after the governor at the time, Governor Snyder, and I was really tough on him. My boss got mad at me, really mad. So it just started to change over the years. It wasn't about accountability anymore. It was about kind of the media being really friendly, because they didn't want to lose that connection to the powerful.
Interesting. That's like the carrot and the stick, basically. And I'm sure if you were nice and you waxed nice with them, you get interviews, you'd get inside tips.
You would, but also if you were like me, you would never get to be able to interview the governor again in Michigan. But I give the former governors, Snyder and like DeSantis in Florida, I give them credit because they will go hand to hand. I've interviewed Trump twice. He also, I give credit, doesn't shy away from reporters. But for example, in Michigan during COVID, I don't know how many of your viewers are in Michigan, but the governor, as most states, did virtual news conferences. If you were not one of her approved reporters, you were not allowed into the Zoom. So,
well, that right there, I mean, Dave, that right there, approved. That's you're already shifting and shaping the narrative.
Exactly.
So we've been watching what goes on. I know COVID woke up a lot of people, but we were watching what was going on before COVID. All right. And I'm a political atheist. I think both parties are a uniparty. I think that you can't. It doesn't matter who gets elected. If you watch how much they spend, and you watch, there's no accountability. Nothing changes. The debt keeps growing. So fiscal policy doesn't change. All omnibus bills get passed, and so it doesn't matter. The Republicans had the House, the Senate, and the administrative level, and nothing got done. Yeah. So with that being said, we've been watching narratives being shaped. The Iraq War narrative. Look at that. That narrative was ridiculous for a lot of us over here on this side. Our biggest 9/11. That narrative was shaped. I just did a show with a book researcher and Monica Perez where we looked at the Boston Marathon and the media narrative and how it was shaped and all the indiscrepancies and all of the reporting. And you can pull up videos where they're saying different things and changing things in real time.
Yeah.
And so how did you see any of that? How dark is it? How is it? How would one go about shaping the narrative?
And I was in local news for 25 years, and I had my brushes with the networks. It was better on a local level. All of my television stations I worked for were owned by big companies. For example, the last one I worked for, they owned about 80 to 90 stations, Sinclair Media Broadcasting, and they leaned conservatively, but still they were beholden to the advertisers. But on a local level, I admit pretty much it was pretty good on a local level up until 6-7 years. And that's when they didn't want to lose control. But when it comes to the network level, that's when it's bad. And that's when I realized even back in 2010, I remember just one quick example, and it wasn't a political story, but I was in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. There was a college student at the University of Auburn that was kidnapped, and they found her body in a ditch or something. It was some big national story. And they sent me to cover it for my local station. And CNN said they wanted me to do a report for CNN. And I said, sure, okay, that'd be cool. My mom would get to see me on TV in Michigan on CNN. But then the producer called me like an hour before I was to go on, and they said, okay, we want you to say the girl was found naked. She was found. They wanted me to start saying, and I said, no, that's not true. So they wanted me to start making up little details like that. And I told them, I said, I'm not saying this. It's not true. And they said, we'll pull you off. And I didn't do it. I refused to do it. So there's certain things they do to make, and they're like, oh, it doesn't matter if she wasn't naked. Just say it. That was my first example of when I started seeing how the national media, there's a truth to it, but then they'll twist a little bit to try to, and it's all about the ratings. It obviously is. But it was really disappointing. And then if you got time, there was a mass shooting somewhere in Alabama I went to cover. The networks, people don't know this. Whenever there is a big tragedy, anything huge, mass shooting, January 6th, whatever it is, all the networks, they have people who are employed called bookers. Their only job is to land interviews. When there's a school shooting, like say ABC News will get 10 people on a plane, and their job is to get the crying mother on camera, the crying dad. That is their only job. They will go to your house. They will track you down, track your friends down. They will do whatever it takes. They'll give you trips to Disney World. They'll buy you new furniture. And that happens on a daily, weekly basis on network news. And I seen it happen. And my bosses would get mad. Dave, why didn't you get the interview? Well, ABC News is giving someone free tickets to Disney because they just lost their child.
Wow.
And most people in that situation, they don't know. Their mind is, I don't know what happened if my kid was killed. I don't know what I would do. So they're taking advantage of that. So the networks is where I see the big issues. Local news it got worse, but even in the beginning, the network news, I interned at CNN in 1998, and then it was more kind of just news. There was still commentary, but it did get bad. I noticed around 2009, 2010, there's a reason they call some reporters vultures. It was sad. Wow.
That is now, see, out of all the researchers that I've talked to, all the stuff that we look at, I have never heard that before. That they actually offer people incentives to get an interview. And I bet you the more in the direction that they want that interview to go, the better the incentive. So this is, it goes back to this, David. I say the central bank, Federal Reserve. Okay, they are the providers, right? And then there's this big trough, and I call it the trough of corruption. Okay, you have the garbage eating politicians, the multinational corporations, and you have the media all feeding from this trough of corruption, and it creates a chaotic, corruptive chaos that spreads through everything. I mean, you're telling me basically greed is the incentive that it can be used so easily. Are you listening, ladies and gentlemen? It doesn't have to be the Nephilium from Planet Poptoid. It doesn't have to be the lizard people living in the Middle Earth or any of that dumb shit. It's real. Like I've been trying to explain to you guys, everything is so corrupt. It's chaotic, and anything can be done in that kind of environment.
And it was just during COVID, it just really hit me on. I wanted to do stories and just break stuff down. For example, in Michigan, I got in trouble. I was accused of killing people because I wanted to dig into things like, okay, there's COVID, people are dying. Did they have comorbidities? What was the people in Michigan who died from COVID? Did they have cancer? Did they have leukemia? Did they have whatever? And Michigan refused to release the numbers, and even questioning that with the state got big pushback, and you couldn't talk about certain things. And obviously COVID is real, but like I remember doing a story about how in Michigan, the numbers of children that were impacted were virtually none. But still you couldn't really say it because you'd be, oh my God, you want children to die. But the numbers, it didn't matter. It was sad. And it was kind of self-censorship. You knew those stories would not be allowed. And a lot of reporters were just scared to even bring up story ideas because they knew the powers that be would trounce them.
Well, of course. And you get mad at people who are like, oh, look at these people reporting these lies. But they have a career, they have a family, they have people to support. But that kind of leads up to my next question here. So a mask. You've got reporters, you've got people, the reporters. Now I asked doctors this and they kind of give me the same answer. I'm sure you're going to give me the same answer. You're putting lives in danger, Dave, because you're trying to look into facts. But we have this mask on that will not stop a biocontagion at all. At all. And people are walking.
Yeah, in the beginning, and all I wanted to know was like specific science and information. And I think within the last couple of months, it came out that they made up the 6-foot rule out of nowhere, out of thin air.
Yes.
I mean, back in the day, no media, they said, okay, you have to have a 6-foot distance. Well, where'd that come from? Well, the CDC said so. Yeah, but where'd they get that from? You couldn't even ask that question or you were a naysayer. And now we learn years later, they just made it up out of thin air.
So none of these reporters had the gumption or the forethought to think, hey, this mask doesn't work, and I know it because it says on the side of the box, or I looked into this a little bit and found out that this mask really doesn't work, but I'm going to tell people it works and I'm going to wear one. And it's like telling someone to go into a building that's burning, but you're in a fireproof suit, but you're really not. Couldn't I be hurting people by doing that? Wouldn't where's the character?
Yeah, and I refused to do a lot of the networks and local stations. They had campaigns to encourage the public to mask or get vaccinated. I would not do any of that because I did not think it was my job to be a public relations firm. My job was just to report. So I wouldn't do that. I would not, but I did try to. But if you did try to do those things, you would be banned from Facebook. You'd be taken down off Instagram. And the stations on a local level would get so much pushback. The bosses they'd say, okay, we're going to step back. And they didn't want to ruffle any feathers. And a lot of the companies, a lot of the television broadcast companies were taking money from the federal government to promote vaccine, mask wearing, whatever it was being. So they wanted those ad dollars to keep coming in too.
Right. I get that. I get that. Here's the thing that I don't know if you see this like this, but we're gonna mess around with Dave today in the Tigers Den. We're gonna ask him. We're gonna throw him a fastball and
Okay.
see what he thinks. So the lockdowns. Our governor. We're in Michigan. Gretchen Whitmore, the wicked witch of the West or the East here. She did a lot of heinous things. And people are like, look at this Democrat governor, look at what she's doing, blah, 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 blah. No one ever says, at least on the right, hey, where did the funding come from? Well, the federal government. And if you didn't implement the CDC's guidelines, what would happen? You wouldn't get that funding. Well, who was in charge of the federal government
At that time?
At that time.
Well, Trump
we know Fauci, but.
Well, yeah, Trump was president.
So he was in charge of the federal. So where did that money come from? It came from the federal government, who Trump is in charge of.
Well, in the end, the taxpayers pay for everything. But yeah, I mean.
Well, yeah. Your great grandchildren are paying for everything.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
But yeah. So did you ever make that correlation, or do you think that's an obscene correlation? Do you agree with that? Disagree? And you can disagree, bro. We're amicable.
Yeah. No. I know Congress at that time during COVID. Did he have was it all Republican control? I forget during the beginning.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was, but
okay. But no, I mean, he had, I think people forget that he was there, but when it comes to the money, people did not ask about anything. I was more on the local level at that time, but I asked questions about, in the state of Michigan, they opened field hospitals, COVID field hospitals. It's Kobo, back in the day, Kobo, and the one off 96. It's a Showplace collection, whatever it is. They had 200 bed hospitals that were spending $2 million a month. They only saw like 40 patients. So much money wasted. And I tried finding out, okay, where's the money coming from? The feds. But where was it going? You could not get any information. Michigan actually cut off, I think, or made it very difficult to even file freedom of information requests during COVID. So really? You could not even good luck. You file a freedom of information request, you might get it back in 2 years. So following the money was not easy. And for those of you who are watching, Michigan is is horrible when it comes to that, because you can't even FOIA the governor and the state lawmakers in Michigan. They're exempt from freedom of information. But yeah, no, the money, everything, with the nursing home situation with Michigan. And I don't think people say Governor Whitmer did not order COVID patients into nursing homes, but there was most likely a financial incentive. My dad, you knew my dad, he told me money, it all comes down to the money.
Oh, well, everything was financially incentivized. So a COVID diagnosis in a hospital was financially incentivized. And then, if they were on a ventilator, that was financially incentivized, which medically was a disaster. You had pulmonary doctors losing their mind over that treatment. And so it was medical murder. I hate to say it like that. That's kind of bombastic, but incentivized medical murder.
It was sad. And I'm hoping we have looked back at that and just continue to learn. I mean, I post stuff all the time from back in the day and 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and people are like, you need to stop dwelling on that. I'm like, no, I think we need to learn and not learn from that. What happened? There's so many things with education, with government. I mean, of what liberties were given away and so easily for some people. We need to learn from that.
Well, yeah. You look at the last NDAA they passed. I mean, everything is taking away liberty. When it comes to that, liberty is just it's in the crosshairs more and more and more. And the historical things that took place during COVID, when it comes to not only liberty but just all kinds of different stuff. I mean, everything was unconstitutional on its face. It was insane.
And Governor Whitmer found a way around it. They struck down her executive orders, but then she used the health department to go through it. The administrative state was, it was very interesting. She felt like or acted like a queen, a king or queen.
Well, yeah, a witch, if you ask me.
Well,
she was acting like a witch. But yeah, no, it was a nightmare. So how do you feel now? You've got your own news broadcast, basically. how's it going? I mean, I mean, you're keeping it real. I've been watching your videos. He's real local, ladies and gentlemen, which I really like. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not making the money I was in TV. I have several other jobs doing other things and, working for a nonprofit and doing some social media, but I'm happier, but I am happier that I can do my own content as well. But I like it for like you can sit down and spend an hour with someone and hash it out and talk about it. When I was in TV news, we were not allowed to do a story that was more than 2 minutes. Usually that was the limit. And you cannot tell a story for more than 2 minutes. And that's why local and even national news is dying. CNN now, all CNN or Fox, even they sit around a desk and, bitch at each other all day. That's really all they do. I'm happy doing it. I try not to I don't back any political candidates ever. I tell everyone I'll go after Republicans. I'll go after Democrats. I piss people off on both sides.
I seen that.
And I even did something a week ago. I backed Whitmer in a way. She had death threats. Someone was arrested threatening to kill her. And I said, that's horrible. I said, no one should, if convicted, if the person really did it, no one should go after someone, because I've had death threats and I know what it's like. So I make both sides unhappy and pissed off at times. I've had death threats from both sides.
That's what the truth does, though, Dave. That's what happens when you tell the truth. People don't like the truth.
I mean, Trump, like I said, I've interviewed Trump. He's a genius with marketing. He's an idiot with other things. But he's not a god. And if I say one thing negative, like if I remember I had a death, I've never talked about it publicly before, but I had a death threat because I did a story when DeSantis first announced he was starting to rise in the polls. And a guy threatened to kill me because he thought I was a DeSantis supporter. I said, no, dude, I'm just giving the information.
Wow.
So that's a whole other issue about how the social media, the algorithms, everyone's in their own little aisle. I mean, I watch MSNBC, Fox, PBS, even though I find a lot of it disgusting. I take it all in and see where they're all coming from. Most people don't do that. They're stuck in their own little chambers.
Oh, no, that's done on purpose. That is done to separate people from being able to talk and having amicable conversations and get things done and saying, hey, we disagree on this, but we agree on that. It is social media tailors your view. You are in an echo chamber. You are going to hear only things. You are going to see only things, not only politically, but religiously. They're fed to you to fit your perspective.
And then if they don't like it, I have my show on a paid platform called Locals, but I opened it up to Facebook. I'm getting 4 to 10 people watching my show. I have 200,000 followers on Facebook. So I know that Facebook, it's just that.
Dave, I don't know. We could talk about this on your show or on my show sometime, but there's what they, about shadow banning, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, we have actually brought people out of the hole. I mean, there is a researcher. They threw him in the hole. And and Twitter anyway. In Twitter, you still get shadow banned.
It's better, but still.
Yeah, Facebook, so you got to hashtag everybody. You got to get a tag as many people as you can, as many views as you can, and try to trick the algorithm because you're already in no man's land.
I'm doing my best, and advice for any creators, yourself, I'm trying to just get an email newsletter, trying to collect emails. But then you got Google with putting your stuff in a spam box. It's crazy. That's the hardest part, going on your own, independent. All the ones I've talked to across the country, the forces against you, me, others out there doing it. It's just, it's frustrating.
Yeah. It's like an ant in a steamroller, man, but you keep the good fight up, right? You just, you don't give up. So we got, you said a half an hour. So we got 2 minutes. I
can go 10 more minutes.
Oh, cool. All right, cool. That's absolutely excellent.
I'll go to 8:40. My wife will probably want me upstairs for some. I was paying bills before I got online here, and I just looking at the medical bills, and I'm like,
isn't that fun? Yeah. Yeah. That inflation helps pay bills a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. That money is, that's a whole other story.
We are in such, horrible trouble with that. We're in big trouble. That is a very bad thing that's happening because they can't fix it. They can't fix it, Dave. The Fed, when they say, "Oh, we're raising interest rates," that doesn't help. Do you know what they could do, Dave? Think about this. They could contract the money supply. So for your viewers, I know you probably, hopefully somebody's viewing, that's your viewers. The bank really doesn't have your money. The reserve. So if there's $1 million in deposits before COVID, they only had to have 10% of that $1 million. So that's $100,000 to cover all the deposits. Okay. In cash. All right. So now after COVID, the reserve turned to zero. So if the Fed wanted to get money out of the market, out of the aggregate in general, they could tell the banks, hey, you need to have a 10 or a 20 or a 30% reserve. Or how about actually backing your depositors' deposits and actually having it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
that's scary.
Yeah, that's fractional reserve banking. That's how banks work.
Wow.
And the money that when Dave takes money out of the ATM, it's Angry Tiger's money, or it's somebody else's money, right? And they flip flop the accounts, and when they grow illiquid, it's basically called the discount window at the Federal Reserve. If you're a bigger bank and a couple of your branches are liquid, you hook them up with the discount window, and they're able to fake liquidity and move money in and out like that. And then they get to sell it. They sell that money back to the Federal Reserve. You like that?
Yeah, but maybe you haven't run across it, people. Just print more money. Like today, Biden just announced another $7 billion in student loans payoffs, or just more money. Where does this money come from? I bet people say, you just print it.
Oh yeah, no. Actually, Jerome Powell, you know who that guy is, right?
Oh,
yeah. He said the other day that your money comes from a tax base that people are compelled to pay. So you are a debt slave. So they spend your money. See, this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand. They're spending your money.
And that's what you said it right. And I would always change the scripts when I did news. Michigan's horrible for that, for government subsidies and so forth. The lawmakers would send a news release. Congressman Kildee is giving $2 million to the city of Flint or whatever. It's not his freaking money. It's tax. I would always change the script and say taxpayer money is going to, or whatever. Like General Motors gets $300 million. Chinese battery factory on the west side of Michigan just got $300 million subsidy. That's not just random money that shows up. Like the state of Michigan last year, they spent $1.2 billion on government subsidies and pork projects. Yeah, it's real money that's mine.
So yeah, that's not sustainable. Sooner or later, it's you get what you have now. COVID basically triggered off the inflation, and it's not, they can't stop it, and that's the scary thing. So, here's another thing I would like to ask you. So when you go to journalism school, do they, is it like where they teach you how to sell things, like kind of like, because I've been a salesman before, and there's a method. Do they actually teach you, hey, most people can only take 2 minutes of information in at a time, or are there any Jedi mind tricks?
I'm 49, when I was at school, journalism, and it was different, and it was more, actually, I was taught ethics and morals and legalities and slander and all this sort of thing. And I did not go to a great journalism school, but I still succeeded, I think, rather than those who did. But it has changed, because I've asked people who've graduated from journalism schools, and it is more of a narrative, and a lot of it's amazing. I don't know what they're teaching at some universities. I was a hiring manager at our last station. There were people who did not know, how something became law. They didn't know the intricacies of government, or even how a city council worked. Those are things I was taught. I knew. They didn't even know what slandering someone was. But they did know about how, certain organizations, or you have to capitalize, the B in black, or the certain LGBTQ flag. So it wasn't just about journalism, and it scared the hell out of me, because we were trying to hire people. I'm like, what are they teaching these kids?
That's crazy. I always wondered about that, but it's just the people. I mean, what do you tell people watching that have been lied to? See, because a lot of my audience has come to the point where they'll believe almost anything, but they don't believe anything. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, and I understand that, and I think I said it to you when I had you on my show. People just want the truth. Well, that's not easy because what is the truth? In the beginning of COVID, we were told what that you if you took like the president said it. I interviewed a woman from Livonia. Her daughter died 2 months after the vaccine, and she didn't come out and blame that, but she said President Biden, and she was vaccinated, and President Biden said, "You're vaccinated, you won't get COVID." My dad used to insulate pipes with asbestos when he first started doing it as a young man. That he was told it was perfectly fine. So I don't like saying what is the truth. And I understand why people don't trust any media. They did it to themselves, honestly.
They did do it to themselves.
And I hope I think people are waking up to it. Hopefully, well, the ratings are going way down. When I started working 8 years ago at my television station, we had about 20,000 people watching our 6 p.m. news. Now, when I left last year, there's about 1,200 people watching at 6 p.m.
You know what's great though? It's great, but on the same time, what I'm watching happen is people are going into echo chambers. They've been chased. There's not very many people. We have one of my viewers, and he's a cohort. He's Jason Barker. He has the Foxhole. He says real things. I'm Chris Graves, another broadcaster. He says real things, and you're saying real things, and we're like, there's not many of us. Everybody is tailoring their message to their audience because that's to make money, to keep in the game, to get likes, to get views, to get clicks.
Yeah, and I lean more conservatively, but I will do things that will go after the other side or this side. And I have a paid subscription platform. I lost 50 people when I forget what story I did lately. I had a discussion with someone down in your neck of the woods in Monroe Community College. I got into the whole bathroom issue. They're changing the bathrooms to allow any gender. And instead of arguing and yelling about it, I just talked to someone and we had a good discussion. And I was not yelling, but people got mad. Some of my hardcore, maybe right-wing people got mad that I wasn't coming down hard on it, and I lost them.
Wow.
Yeah, that it's disappointing that you can't just sit down and, talk about things and look at things. Like, people literally think Trump is a god, literally.
It's a call. We've covered this. It's a very bad thing. QAnon. I don't know if you know about that. It's all bad. And again, what kind of power? These people don't understand how the country's supposed to work, Dave. Right? I mean, the president's not supposed to have so much power. There is no hope in Washington. You need to be local. Pay attention to what you can't affect what they're going to do. It's not going to work.
I don't think I told you this when I was on. I was asked to run for Congress back in January because I was a news anchor in mid-Michigan, and the counties that I am an anchor in is the 8th Congressional District. My face was on TV all the time. I have about 600,000 followers on social, and someone called me high up in the Republican Party and said, "Do you want to run for Congress?" And there's a chance I could have won. But I thought about it and I said no. And then Dan Kildee, who was a congressman, the Democrat, he dropped out. He said he's not running again. I really could have won. But then when I found out what it's like, I said no for numerous reasons. And one of them was I'm not a millionaire. And I learned quickly, if you're not a billionaire or millionaire, even if you are, you have to answer to everyone else. It's not about what's better for the country. And I just learned you're raising money all the time. I couldn't do it. I learned so much.
Special interest groups that you are beholden to.
I could not do it. And I understand I'm just an average dude. I'm not a millionaire. So if some guy gives me $1 million, he's expecting me to at least get access and I'm like, no, I just want to. The Republican Party reached out to me wanting me to do it. And I said to him, I'm like, well, I'm going to be real. I'm going to call. If Trump says something stupid, I'm going to call him on it. And they said, no, you can't. You can't. You have to back him. And I said, no, you can't, or you'll be shunned in the party. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah. I said, no,
No, yeah, that's the admirable of you. And that just goes to, what I tell my viewers is we have an incestuous relationship going on. It's a Mussolini style fascism. You have multinational corporations, bankers, and government all in bed together, and it just creates the corruptive chaos. Again, we go back to that. It's almost like a banana republic. So let's show the people where we can they can find you here. And
everywhere.
there we go. There's your Facebook page. Here, let me get
Yeah,
there. We go.
Whatever platform they're on, I think just type in my name and they should find it. Dave, Bondy, Substack, Locals, X.
Yep. Keeping it real with David Bondy, ladies and gentlemen. So, David, I want to thank you very much for coming on with me tonight.
Cool.
Hopefully we can get you on again. Hopefully I talk to you soon. And you've been keeping it real, dude. Thank you very much.
Cool. I'm going to go hang out with the wife now. And I need to see you soon when I come down, and we're going to have a beer or hang out.
Sounds great. All right, Dave.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. All right. And that was the great David Bondy. You know, thing about this is, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of times we look at stuff and it's like, well, he's a little bit more mainstream. There's nothing wrong with that, because I think that we're living in a world that a lot of things are going on. And with that being said, you can't get lost in that world, because there's the rest of the world going on. It's something that if you have to be a little bit open-minded. You can't just say, oh, if this guy doesn't believe that, in what we believe in, or if this guy doesn't know as much information, he's a journalist. That's what he's been doing. And he's been doing a great job. And he actually, stepped down from his career because of his character. And that takes a lot. That takes a lot of strength. That takes a lot of courage, and I'm proud that, he did that. And that's something that even if he stays within the realm of the politics and reporting on different things, he's doing it honestly. So if he's not going to be on some, crazy platform jumping up and down about some, a conspiracy all the time, that doesn't mean what he has to say is invalid. So especially when you're looking for local news, guys like that are who you want to look for. So if you are in the Detroit area or anywhere else, he reports on a lot of national things. Check out David Bondy. Good stuff. I'm going to do something from our sponsors here really quick, reboot my brain, and finish up with you, ladies and gentlemen. I got a couple of messages I want to go over and just kind of like check things out. So where are we at here? All right. You work hard for your money. The Federal Reserve could care less about that. It's endless printing of fiat dollars to support war, welfare, and ever-expanding government. Your hard-earned money becomes worth less every day. You need a way to hedge against runaway inflation. Saving accounts pay almost no interest, and the stock market is a roller coaster ride of uncertainty. Don't let your savings or retirement be diminished by reckless speculators, bad fiscal policy, and endless printing of fiat dollars. Call Tony Arterburn at Wise Wolf or visit wisewolfgoldandsilver.com for a real wealth storage vessel. Wolfpack is a monthly savings program that ships physical gold and silver to your door. It's a buyer's club that uses the strength of numbers to get bulk pricing. Tony passes the savings on to you. Tony can roll over a IRA or a 401k into a precious metals-backed IRA. He can also help with Bitcoin, if that's what you're into. Stop being robbed by the Fed and visit wisewolfgoldandsilver.com to secure your hard work in something that truly holds value. Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Exchange.
New music, classic artists. That's how we do it here at Modern Retro Radio.
Lenny Kravitz has just released his 11th studio album.
Here is the ever-enduring pop genius, Beck.
Giving you the latest from Sheryl Crow,
Lindsey Buckingham,
Marilyn Manson. This is Garbage, a song called Blood for Poppies.
Robert Crane's channeling Al Green.
Better known as Shaka Khan.
Brand new music from Parliament Funkadelic. Back in the 1980s and 1990s, we knew him as Terrence Trent D'Arby.
This is Taylor Dane.
You know that group, Foo Fighters?
I am vaguely familiar with them, yeah.
The new album from Slash, Phil Collins, covers the Four Tops.
Metallica's 2016 double album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Here we got Aerosmith with Beyond Beautiful.
All right, here we are. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a couple things I want to talk about. This is going to be a little bit more like my radio show tonight, I think, than normal. I guess I'm going to yap here for a couple of minutes. And here's the thing that I kind of want to discuss. You know, I was talking with Dave there, and Jason Barker. If you're listening, if you want to hop in, let me know, because you might have something to say about this. But there's two things, something that I noticed. Number one is that, like I said to Dave, we're being trapped. You are being trapped. And this is important, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody who's watching this, and me, the broadcaster himself, okay, we are being trapped. We are being sucked into something. All right. And we are living in this something, and it's dangerous. It's not good for our minds. It's not good for our souls. It is not good for those who are around us, and is not good for the perspective and honing your thoughts and your actions with love. And, you know, I talk about this on my radio show. So when I was going to talk about some different things when I was speaking with Dave, but he made me think about character, and he made me think about the perspective of journalism and what's going on with journalism today, and how it's being used in social media, in the alt media, in all media, to take us and stick us into these little pins. We're like with horse blinders on, and all we see is what we want, because it's purposely being fed to us. Okay. And this is going to affect your perception of the world, of people around you, of yourself. Okay. It might make you lose yourself to a certain extent, who you are, who you know you are, who your life has turned you into through your, all the things you've experienced in life, which shapes your perspective, which is an important natural thing, and is very, it's part of the power process. And I discussed the power process. You have 3 cups, and you have to keep them full. You have your spirit, okay? You have your mind, all right? And you have your physical, okay? And you got to keep these things. When you exhaust these things, and maybe not be able to do it daily in today's society, okay? Because when we're living more of an agrarian lifestyle, we exhausted these things. You constantly had to be thinking. You constantly had to be on your toes mentally, okay? And you constantly had to be working, moving, doing something. All of this tunes up your soul. So your body and your mind and your soul get in tune. You're in tune with the earth. You're in tune with love. You're in tune with the love around you. You're in tune with your family, because there aren't all these other outside things ripping your brain apart. Now we have the cups not being fulfilled, because instead of having to raise your meat or go hunt your meat, you go buy your meat. Your vegetables, instead of growing them, you go and you basically, buy them. Most people, okay? Modern society, you drive, all right, more than you would walk or ride a horse, which is a little bit more physical than driving if you've ever ridden a horse. There's a lot of different things that we're doing that don't allow us to fulfill our power process, okay? And now we have that taken away from us. So we're already lagging, unless you found ways to do it, working out, stimulating your mind, being close with your family, being close with the earth as much as you can, with natural things as much as you can, eating naturally, thinking naturally. It's a lot of our thoughts that are natural. We're told, oh, no, you can't think that. That's wrong. And therefore we suppress. So we're unable to fulfill our power processes unless we do it consciously. When we know about this, you have to know about it to be able to say, oh, what's wrong with me? Am I not fulfilling my power process? Or you have to know yourself to be able to say, hey, what's wrong with me? There's something, I'm out of balance. I'm not in character. This isn't part of my character. Why am I acting, feeling, or thinking this way? What's going on? So this all takes honesty, and this all takes, a self-knowledge. And what's happening to us is I've been in this for a long time, since 2008. Fast forward to 2000 12, where all of this started heating up. Alternative media, InfoWars, this, that, the other, all these different podcasters, all these different theories, all this darkness constantly being poured upon us, constantly. And look at the world around you and wring your hands and pine away and get mad and all the things that come with it. And then it starts shaping your perspective. You start losing yourself or who you really are. Or things that are important aren't as important as this grand scheme that's going on all around us. And it's a trap that everyone can fall into. And then, boom, you're being fed. Okay, we know this guy's a Christian or Jewish or whatever he is. We know he's a Democrat or he's a Republican. We know he's far to the left or far to the right. They have categories for us. Then they put labels on us. All right. And then they feed our brain with what they think we want to hear. And it works after a while. Because we oh yeah, I agree with most of this. Yeah, this is pretty good. And we get lost. We are lost in this chasm and this nightmare, which is going to bring me to my next thing. Jay, I'm gonna put it in your Twitter, brother. I'm gonna do that right now. Just we get lost in this nightmare, ladies and gentlemen, where we are not thinking for ourselves, and it's happening. If you have one favorite podcaster and you agree with everything he says, if you agree with everything I say, don't watch me, because this is part of the disease that I'm talking about. This is part of link sent, Jay. This is part of what I am speaking on. Okay, because once you're in that mindset with a particular podcaster where everything he's saying you agree with 100%, there's something wrong. You are now in a cult. If it's not a cult, it's probably not. It's just some podcaster. You're thinking like a cult member. You are being a follower. You're not being a leader. I get my information from great podcasters like Gard Goldsmith. I listen to the Foxhole, So, Jason, it's in your Twitter messages. I see that what do we got here from Stefan94? Recently, there was a study that said antidepressants do not work, and the scientific community has no idea what causes depression or how to treat it. That doesn't surprise me one little bit. What do we got from Karen? Most medications can cause that, they say, that can treat or many other things worse than the conditions they are prescribed for. Absolutely. Big pharma, big poison. They think they know things, but they really don't. They really don't. And this is the same kind of thinking that goes into what I'm talking about. You don't follow that. We're smart enough to know about that. We're smart enough not to fall into the trap of, the authorities say it's all right, or the experts say it's all right, or the elite say it's all right. So it's all right. But when some podcaster says it's all right, when somebody in the alt media says we can trust them, they're not a shill, then we believe everything they say. And then we start building this world for ourselves that we get stuck in, and we forget about the real world. And there's a danger of you forgetting about who you are, what made you you, and you turn into a different person. There's a big danger in all of this. So you have to look out for it. It's not a pretty sight. And I think Jason's going to pop in here any second as soon as he checks his Twitter messages. And what's going on, Texas Coast South? I'm going to give a scream to everybody in the chat. Little John, the lumberjack of liberty. What's going on? We got the real Jason Barker, Texas Coast South. Chris Graves, Karen Carpenter. Who else did I see in there? Angus Mustang. Honored that you're there, sir. So, I'm getting low on view counts over here. Maybe because I'm trying to tell the truth. But, I just, it's extremely disturbing to see this happen, and it's happened to me. It can happen to all of us. And you have to be careful. You have to watch your ass. You have to watch your ass because they're using Jedi mind tricks. Like, I'm telling you, this isn't just angry tiger blowing smoke. This is something that is absolutely happening. We are being, and then if you really do want to try to make some kind of change, all right, he says he sees nothing at all in his messages. Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to trust my people in Rumble which there's not many. Just this link's for Jay. And Jay, hit the link. There you go. So I just threw the link in Rumble for you, Jay. See if that works. But that's, that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that, and here's why this kind of was brought to my attention. I've been watching this take shape. This has been taking shape in my mind. We're being begullied. We're trusting the alt media way too much. Not the way to go. It's not. And this is going to bring me to my next topic, and that's why I brought Jason in here, because we had a discussion about this. And this topic is hate. I can't get away from it in any of the damn chats. And I'm watching, and I'm not going to name names, but I'm watching leaders in the community, podcasters who have big followings and little followings as well, feed this hate. And now the perspective of an individual is being shifted by someone that they trust in this echo chamber of information that they need to hear to verify their own existence, I guess. Yeah, the world is messed up and there's a lot of stuff going on and there's a lot of trickery going on, but part of the trickery is putting us in these pins. Have you been listening, Jay?
Yeah. Something was going on with my Twitter. Like it said, I had no historical
messages.
That's
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But, so what do you think of what I've been talking about here for the last 10 minutes? Been rattling around about, being fed information, your perspective, losing your true self, all this stuff, how dangerous the alt media can be, or any media can be.
Well, I think that we, even our alt community, we're kind of an echo chamber at this point, and we're all trying to tell the truth. But then, I think we've been either infiltrated, and people are afraid to speak against. And you and I talked about this months ago about some of the racist comments and things like that, and then you kind of just want to back away, But then some people will go along with it to get along. So I don't know if that's a plant to try to discredit certain broadcasters, or is it people's true colors coming out? I'm not sure. But the thing is that, if we don't speak out against it and don't push back against it, which I did a little bit today, and I know what chat you're talking about, and I got kind of shunned, I got shunned away. People are like, go away or whatever, because I'm just like, hey, I don't like the hate. We're out here to give the truth, not to give opinions on what we think about other races, cultures, whatever. There's free speech, and then there's, I don't like to use the term hate speech, but there's hateful speech that's not productive.
I agreed 100%. And well, here's the thing that kills me. And that's why I'm like, you have to be careful not to fall into traps, any kind of trap. The hate trap is really bad. I've got a guy on Twitter. I think he's a viewer. He follows me, and I respect the guy. He's a vet and all that. And but most of these people, Jay, are Christian.
Yeah.
And that's what that blows my face off. I mean, I flirted with not even I'm not even gonna say white power, neo-Nazi groups. I understand how they work. I had friends that were neo-Nazis. I almost joined a skinhead group when I was a younger man. So I'm very familiar with the talk, and the talk I see in the chats. That's what that is. That's what
Right.
that's the same shit I was looking at in 1989, 1990, or whatever year it was that I was, looking into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I don't know if they're so much Christian as they think they're Christian, because we have a mutual friend that's a really hardcore Christian. You know who I'm talking about. And he saw the same thing I saw, and he had to leave because it's just hateful. I don't know, man. It's really tough because you want to bring in an audience, you want to talk about the issues, but when the issues get skewed away on, it's what the left-right does, on wedge issues like abortion, gun control, border control, things like that. These issues will never be solved. They're always a problem to fight over. And I'm seeing the same thing come into the alt community, where they're getting the audience to fight and bicker about these things. And we have to be careful as broadcasters that we don't appease the audience. We've talked about this. You've talked about, you're the one that brought it up to me. If we lose viewers, we lose viewers, but we can't give up the truth to appease an audience that's just basically been infiltrated. I'm not going to say it's the FBI or the CIA or blah, 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 that's coming after us, but there's people out there that are really extreme in their views. They're kind of naive and they fall for some of these other broadcasters out there. I won't name names, but people that hyperbolically report huge things and they get people going crazy. Then they come into our chat and they kind of like poison the well there. You know what I'm saying? So we have to shut that stuff down, regardless of whether or not we get views or not.
Well, yeah, I agree. And that's, Dave was just on and he said, he said something with Trump and he lost 50 paid subscribers because about something with Trump. Or no, he went to he was talking to somebody about the bathrooms. When I have people I disagree with on, I don't ream them a new one. It's an amicable conversation because you're not going to understand what the hell they're thinking if you're yelling at each other, even if you disagree with them vehemently.
No, that's fair as a host. And that's one thing that back when I used to watch Tucker, I didn't like Tucker because he would not give his really liberal guests a chance to speak. He would overtalk them to make them look stupid, to make him look big. Right. And I didn't like that. I'm like, just have the conversation. Let them say what they have to say. A liberal will make themselves look stupid if you let them talk, But
yeah, well, I had the MAGA guy on. I let him talk. I mean, and when I disagreed with him, I pointed it out. I had Levi on, who I disagree with vehemently. And there were times I wanted to jump out of my socks, and I'm sure there were times he wanted to jump out of his socks. But you can't do that because then I don't know I'm trying to get to understand why they think this way, or at least try to find some common ground or something. And you're not going to do that if you just yell at somebody. But I worry about the hate because another thing is this: if as a broadcaster, you have to watch what you're saying because you're feeding it. You're saying the chat is a reflection of the person broadcasting. Sometimes I have lost half my viewers, I think, within the last couple of months because I have talked about things and pushed back against things that a lot of people who viewed me believed in vehemently. And I wasn't telling them what they wanted to hear. I was telling them something that was after my Moloch episode, I lost a lot of viewers because there's a lot of people that believe in that. And I had to break the news to them as based off of, basically fictional character. I think it was Milton. There's been 2 fictional write-ups about it, and that's where that whole archetype came from. And then Alex Jones turned it into something that it's not, that doesn't even exist. So after that, I lost a bunch of viewers, but I don't care. I'm not going to sit up here and say something that I don't know is 100%. When I'm doing commentary.
Yeah, well, I think that you're a little bit unique in today's world as far as being genuine with your message. I don't have to agree with you. I can completely disagree with you, but I know that what you're putting out is your honest opinion. It's your honest research. A lot of it's fact. I can have my facts. You can have your facts and we can argue about it. But when, I don't know, today people desire to enter an echo chamber because they get confirmation, right? Confirmation of their own bias. So that's why I call it Twix, because you got Twitter left and Twitter right.
Right.
You get Twix, right? So you get the X, it seems to me like it's almost a battle anymore to tell the truth and try to be honest and have an honest conversation because that's not what people want to hear. And I don't know. It's rough, man. It really is, isn't it?
It is. No, it's rough. And if you, it's just disappointing because this is, we have people who are halfway there and then we're all getting divided. We're all getting, the division on a grand scale is one thing. I'm watching the left, the right, the black, the white, the everything. Okay. And then, now I'm looking in the alternative media and I see the same thing. Oh, if this religion's satanic, that's satanic. This is satanic. This is that. This is, these people are all invaders and coming to suck our blood. It's just, it's you're fertilizing the hate garden.
And what the thing is that these people, and I hate to use the word people, I hate to classify them, but the people in our community, I'll say, they come in all varieties.
Yeah,
we have the people that the Jews run the world, and the Catholics, and the Rome is actually, Rome is, they did the Catholic Church so they can bring in Islam later. It's like, come on, you're crazy. All right. You're freaking crazy. I'm sorry. But anyway, you know the stuff I'm talking about. The thing is that dividing us up like this, we're basically the alternative that could be getting together to push back, but now they've got us fighting amongst each other. And that is why I started the foxhole, because they're basically using this as an asymmetric warfare. They are less, we are more. So they have to turn us on each other. And these people that are friends of mine and colleagues of mine, they're getting so wrapped in single-minded issues, and they get so what do you call it, radicalized on the one thing, that now they're against the people that should be standing side by side with them.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And
well, yeah, because they can't look past one thing,
right,
or two things, or three things even. If your goal is liberty, in my mind, and small, getting rid of this Leviathan government and recognizing who the bankers are and what they do and all the stuff that we talk about, all right, then I don't care what social issue or religious issue that you and I disagree on, it's not worth the disagreement. It's the big issue is what we all need to be in the fight together against, not just the little issues. I can't talk to that guy's a shill because he doesn't think the world's flat.
Right. And you think about it, the globalists, if you want to call them that, I hate to say the word they, them, globalist, but let's just say the elite, the people who self-proclaim themselves as elite, that run, they're part of Davos, the World Economic Forum, the International Monetary Fund, these kind of groups, because it's kind of decentralized at that level. So you can't point a finger at a single group, but they are working in unison with a plan, and they are few and we are many, but they have us turned in towards each other, and we're so busy infighting that we can't push back. And I hate to see it in our community, because we are the truth community. But now
I watched the community that we had here just get destroyed quickly.
Yeah.
It's gone less than a little bit over a year.
Yeah,
a little bit over a year, and it's absolute madness. Another thing I wanted to touch on with you really quick, and I know you're a busy guy, dude, so I appreciate the time you're giving me. The loss of yourself, your personal life. Let's get away from like I was alluding to. Oh, there's this big thing going on. This is important. That is important. This is important. That's important. And then the things in your life, the people in your life, they slip out of reach because you're in this you're in another world. You're not living in and it's not the real world. You want to call it the Matrix, whatever it is. The world going on outside of all this stuff that we talk about and we get concerned about and wring our hands over. They're going to the grocery store, the wife wanting to watch a movie or whatever it is, or whatever, your guitar, your life outside, your bike, whatever. You're losing it. You can get lost in this shit.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier on the phone, and basically, I was telling you that, I'm telling people what they need to do. I'm warning them about the food supply. I'm warning them about the water. I'm warning them about the air. This is what you need to do. I'm so busy researching it. And I think a lot of people, even though they don't have a podcast, maybe they're so busy in their computer or on their phone or whatever, researching it and warning others, but they're not taking the steps themselves. We really have to take care of ourselves and our family first. And I know for you and I, we have a schedule. We do our show every week, and we have to do the preparation. That kind of cuts into the time. But I want everyone to think about this. Look, you got the information. You want to warn people, but take care of yourself first and your family first. Please step back and do that. And then enjoy your life, because what's the point? Yeah. What's the point of surviving if you don't have a life at the end of it? And you're going to be old and on your deathbed and being like, what did I do with my life? God gave it to me. I should have enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And we're this is this is a trap. It's very dangerous. It's like anything else. Too much of anything, right, is not healthy for you. You're out of balance.
You tell the story quite often. You talk about how you had all the bumper stickers, the InfoWars, everything, and you bought the supplements, and it consumed your life. It really did. And I think I was at that point. If it wasn't for me working constantly, 14, 15 hours a day in the military, I might have got consumed by that as well, because I was kind of starting to become an info warrior up until the Jade Helm thing. And then when nothing happened and I found out that was bogus, there was some there, but I kind of I don't know, you start taking the information and some of it's legit and then you start taking conjecture as gospel, and then you get into this fear mode. You really got to sit back and think critically and live your life. I mean, I think that's what we're trying to get to here is you got to live your life as well.
Right. And don't, if you're agreeing with everybody what any podcaster says all the time, there's a problem. That's not a good thing. You're being fed the information then. You're allowing yourself to because dude, perspectives are honed by information and experiences in life, right? So the more, I've watched this happen to myself. I have no problem admitting this. You watch a certain podcast, you start thinking how they think. That is extremely dangerous,
And that kind of feeds back into the topic of, when chat gets toxic, is it the people invading the chat or is it the message that they're receiving?
Or a little bit of both.
Or a little bit of both.
Because they wouldn't be there if they didn't like that message. You look at the fruits of your broadcast. If I had a bunch of racists in my chat, I would tell them, I don't fucking want you here. Pardon my French. Get out of here. Get out. Well, I do not want you here.
And you had that conversation with me about 3 or 4 months ago. You told me that, hey, I do not want to curtail my message to what people in the chat are saying. And you got to understand the people in the chat are a small fraction of the people that view your content. And I think we have to keep that in our mind, that we can't let the chat. I mean, we love to interact with the chat. Don't get me wrong. We love the people in our chat. But when there's a hole in there or two, we can't bend the message to make them happy, because then they win. And that could be very well an agent provocateur as well. We don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I do think now it's unhealthy to watch anything for 3 hours today. Let's see. What do we got here?
Guard is a pretty solid 3-hour show, though.
He does. These communities, as Tiger has defined them, do not welcome diverse opinions or differing opinions. You're 100% right now. That's what I'm driving at right now. That is what I'm driving at. In Texas Coast over in the Rumble chat says the geoengineering is truly concerning. And this is, I'm just going to, I've come to this conclusion. I have had an epiphany, Texas. It is. It sucks. If you have a garden and it's affecting your garden, you do what you can to correct the pH levels. It's happening. You can tell people about it maybe in a passing conversation if you think they can take the information. But guess what? Jay, do you know what I'm going to say? Guess what, Texas? And I'm telling you, Jay, and I'm telling everybody watching, well, you ain't going to stop that shit. I can't stop it. Jay can't stop it. The government in New Hampshire couldn't stop it. The government, they put bills forth. They're trying to stop it. Let's support those people who are trying to stop it. But at the end of the day, you look up, you go, oh, they're spraying us again. That sucks. And move on. Don't worry about it. Don't let it ruin your day. Don't let it be in your head all day long, and I don't know if you do that or not, Texas. I'm just, I like you. You're one of my regulars. So,
well, it's one of these things where if you're truly genuine, and I have another mutual friend of ours that actually sent me a text yesterday, I think it was, or maybe it was this morning, but he's looking at buying a piece of land out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, really, really super cheap. And he's like, hey, what do you think about this for off grid? And I said, look, you got to understand, you want to park a camper out there and camp for a weekend because it's close to a lake, a popular lake. It's close to another big town. So you get your supplies. I said, that's all cool. But if you're trying to live out there, if you're trying to really be against all of this chemtrailing and processed foods and all this stuff, there's a lot of discomfort that comes along with that. There's a lot of money that comes along with that. So if you're serious about it, it's going to be hard. So just understand that we have to deal with what we have to deal with. You can check the labels. Here, look, I've got right here for my show coming up in a couple of days. I got some labels cut out because I'm going to talk about this stuff. But I don't know. I'm spending a buttload of money on a shed. Tiger knows about it. I'm going to try to grow indoors. Come up with a plan. If you're worried about it, don't stress it. Understand you still got to buy from the supermarket. I'm going to grow indoors where I can't get the stuff from the sky on there. I'm going to collect rainwater. I'm going to filter the rainwater. I'm going to use that to water my garden. I'm going to do composting and things like that to try to fertilize it. I don't know. Just do what you can, but don't stress it. That's all we can do. And it is going to be uncomfortable. When your power goes out, it's very uncomfortable. When your internet goes out, it's uncomfortable. But we talk all the time about getting away from this stuff and how evil it is. Try getting away from it for one day, and you're going to see how uncomfortable it is.
I love it,
So,
Jay.
yeah.
You're stuck. We're here.
Yeah.
You
You're
got to
stuck.
go to the grocery store to get your food. So you have a plan. You mitigate all the knowledge that we have, all the bad stuff, because we're not going to change. We could try to change, but it's impossible to change, everything. It's not going to happen. The chemtrails, the bioengineered food. Hey, Levi, what's going on? Welcome to the show. Glad to see you there.
Levi.
We were just talking about you. Were your ears ringing? But, live your life. Live your life. I'm going to tell you, it's a sad thing. And it happened to me. I let this shit basically destroy my life because I forgot who in the hell I was, where I came from, right? I was trying to become what I think I needed to be by listening to all this bullshit, knowing all this knowledge, acting, in a certain way, trying to build, it changed me. And once I realized that and said, hey, remember, bro, you are a hillbilly, right? You're an outdoorsman. You live out in the country. You do a lot. Well, where did you come from? You come from the streets. Where did you spend the other half of your adult life? Hustling, being in the streets, being in the city, and being able to interact with any kind of people. I've been in federal prison. I've been in don't forget all that. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget all the things. And you know what made me realize all this was love. Something happened to me. In October around, Jay, that something about love clicked in my brain. Universal love, the love of Christ, the love of whatever God you worship, and that love is there. You can feel it. You can see it in nature. And it really hit me. And I lost myself. And I lost who I was because I had forgotten about that.
You know what? I got something that popped in my head. Just picture yourself as a warrior on a battlefield. You got your flak vest on. You got your M16. You got 3 or 4 magazines, your Kevlar. I mean, you got everything. You're ready to go. But if you're frozen with fear, you're a target. You could be decked out with all the ammunition, all the tools in the world to be successful in a battle. But if you're frozen in fear, you're standing there as a target. And I think that's what you're getting at is when you get wrapped up into this where you're frozen in fear, you're not acting on anything, not doing anything. You need to have peace with what you're doing. I think God is the answer. If you can have a relationship with God, and you and I are of slightly different, we're both Christians, but you're Catholic and I'm more of a Protestant, I guess you would say. I don't label myself, but I would say Protestant would be close. But if we have that comfort, then we can move forward in a direction with a plan and not be frozen in fear. And that's, I think, when you talk about people getting into that, extremism, they're kind of afraid to get outside their box.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, and that's how you get that. If you look at how they radicalize different people, different religions, different, groups, this is how it's done. Messaging, same message over and over and over again, involves some kind of spirituality in it. And then you become a zealot, right? I like what said here. Ask yourself that question. And if you can't answer honestly without being defensive, that's like an alcoholic being dishonest when asked how many drinks did you have? And that's the thing. It's actually now it's very hard to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. And I had to ask myself a lot of questions recently, and I got some horrible answers because I was telling myself the truth. And I'll tell you what, that hurt. That devastated me. I mean, I'm still not 100% from that. I'm still working on what I need to work on because I talk about this, don't I, on Tiger Tales, Jay? I've been talking about this for a while. And I do this, but I really had to ask myself some hard questions. Everyone asks questions they're avoiding, right? They're avoiding.
It's not that hard to be honest with yourself when you realize that nobody's perfect and it is a work in progress until the day you die. You're always a work in progress. So, being honest with yourself isn't so tough. I think we try to put ourselves on a pedestal, but really when you understand the gravity of God, right? We are nothing. We're peons, we're dirt, but we're always a work in progress. We can always get better. And, it takes having good friends to be honest with you too. And you have to receive that messaging as well.
Yes, you have to be able to receive that message, and if you have more than one of your friends are telling you the same thing, they're probably right, or family. So, again, we're going to get out of here in a second. It goes back to what I always say at the end of the show. Your time, ladies and gentlemen, your time. Don't let your time, which is limited on this earth, this great gift, as Jason just alluded to. All right. Don't let that be stolen. Don't let your joy be taken away, even if it's with someone you're agreeing with on the podcast or in this whatever world we want to call it that we live in, this alt world that we've built for ourselves. Don't let that take you away from the real world. Don't let that take you away from the joy in life, the love, the hug of your child or grandchild or your significant other. Don't let that fade away. Don't let that slip away. That this shit that we're listening to, all the crap from the New World Order or globalists or whatever you want to call them, when you're trapped in this death shoot, all right, you're not living, and they win. They win.
Can I give one message to the listeners?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've
been
been talking about the New World Order and, Davos and all this stuff, and people thought we were crazy. Right now is the time that we need to come together and stop with the nonsense and the bickering, because right now they're exposed. So what we say doesn't look so crazy because it's in the mainstream.
No, we've got a great chance here. That's why I've been railing against whatever it is you believe. You probably think Angry Tiger hates you if you're a flat earther. No, you believe that. That's fine. That's more of like a religious belief. You can't go around explaining things with religion. People aren't going to listen to you because everybody's got a different way of looking at religion or spirituality. So when you're talking about stuff that you can't prove or we can't prove or you think might be it's a theory or whatever, you're blowing the opportunity to tell them what's really going on. Yeah,
and this is our time to strike. This is our time to strike. I think that's why we have this division, is to cripple us, and I don't know if that's by design or if we did it to ourselves. I think it's self-inflicted mostly. It's like now it's like you have to have an enemy. Now that the enemy is exposed, now we have to make a new enemy. So you pick a person in your own circle and make that person your enemy. Like you've always got to have an enemy to go after. Let's just focus on what we all know about the World Health Organization and their treaty. We know about that. That's out there. Oh, it's old news. Let's move on to something else. No, let's stay focused on it because that's the enemy still.
Right.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents, brother.
Yeah, I get it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for viewing. I want to tell you, remember, hone your perspective, your thoughts, your actions in life with love. Don't get trapped into a rabbit hole or a rabbit cage. That's what I'm going to start calling it, the rabbit cage. It's not the rabbit hole. It's a rabbit cage. Don't get trapped in a rabbit. Go out there and live. Okay, there's crap going on. There's a lot that we can't do about it. Mitigate your risk, but go out there and live your life. Enjoy yourself. And remember, time is your most valuable commodity. Try not to waste it. Spend it doing something you love, with someone you love, improving yourself, or preferably all three of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for viewing. And until we meet again.
Your time is your most valuable commodity. Cherish it and use it wisely. Until we meet again.